Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Prince of Persia 2008 walkthrough. Now, we were in the temple. I used the magical powers of teleportation to come back to the Sun Temple, because that makes us right to be heading on our journey to the Martyrs Tower, which is not one of my favourite levels in the game. To be perfectly honest, anything that uses the wings or Mars is generally not the most fun thing ever. I mean, thankfully in the concubines realm in the palace, the one that I can remember right now is not nearly as bad as what we're just heading to. But still, I'm not a big fan of the wings, as I have said when we just picked it up. Now, really, the one thing I will say about the combat that I haven't already said is that it's certainly more interesting to play than it is to watch. Although some of the acrobatics are pretty awesome when you get a nice long combo going. There are quite a number of combos in the game actually, and there is an achievement for finding them all, but obviously that would take you quite a while. There is also an achievement for performing the longest combo in the game that you can. It's about 14 different hits. I believe I have mentioned it before, but I'm not going to manage to pull it off at all. Because, I mean, it's very weird, because I think there's a bit where you need to pause before you kind of continue with the combo. But I've never quite gotten that far. Or at least I've gotten to the point where you're meant to pause and just failed then and there. It's a bit depressing, really. Basically, it's like XXX, YX, Y, A, and then I get lost after that.
Where to now?
To that plate over there, which I do not want to go to. At all.
What's the best way?
Because it's evil. Evil beyond all belief. And speaking of evil,
What's got him stirred up?
just as kind of the difficulty of the corrupted gets more difficult from left to right, it's also quite easily possible to see kind of a reverse correlation in the fact of, as you go from right to left, the corrupted get more evil. So the warrior is technically the least evil of all of them, whereas the hunter is the most evil, but the hunter is one of the easiest to defeat. It's rather bizarre. As we will, I believe, find out at the end of healing this fertile ground, the hunter is a very, very, very malicious character. And I suppose that's part of the reason why he lost his ability to speak, because literally the only thing that he wanted to do was kill, and, you know, when that happens, things aren't going to end badly, you just become very primal. Oh look, speak of the devil. Sort of literally, because, you know, dealing with the devil god's henchmen, but still.
Yes, he's a hunter, remember? I think we can get down that wall there.
So, in order to get ourselves out of this trap,
You got us?
we have to go down to get up.
We're coming back for you.
Yeah.
If we can find a way out.
Now, the reason that I don't like this level is because it does require a lot of going up and going down. And that gets tiresome after a while.
Alone in the dark.
Saved by the Yowl.
We're in the hunter's playground? Any hints
So,
what's planned for us?
He kept
yeah, the
prison.
prince seems to just want to keep getting into Elika's pants, and I'm quite glad that she's not letting him, because
From the walls of this tower.
that would be bad. This is not the time. I mean, forge a relationship and a friendship and a bond, yes, but
Stood in Ahriman's way.
certainly not good to be trying to do it here, which is essentially a torture area. I mean, Martyrs. It's where people were sent to be martyred by the hunter for his vile purposes of just wanting to kill people. I mean, in a way, it kind of fits into the kind of slightly ancient world that we've got here.
If we don't kill this hunter, we end up as a
Because in the Middle Ages, there was a massive obsession with martyrs,
Back in the prison with Ahriman.
particularly the saints. Because one of the, well, actually, the single most popular literary genre in the Middle Ages was the Saints' Life. It basically kind of short little narratives that tell the lives of the saints. It makes a lot of sense. And there were kind of a few different big books which kind of had loads of them in, and then people kind of took them and ran with them, essentially. People of the Middle Ages weren't very scrupulous when it came to originality. They very much liked using kind of source material because it gave their work kind of intellectual weight. So the whole focus on Martyrs here, it's also very fitting for another reason, but I won't go into that right now because it's kind of a spoiler. Also, something very interesting that I kind of just found out randomly looking about the internet is that, well, by randomly looking around the internet, I mean the Prince of Persia wiki. The hunter's weapon is called a katar, or a katara. It's basically a sort of push dagger from India. And you can very much see it in the design, even though there's this kind of scissors element added. It's essentially a weapon with a H-shaped grip, and then the blade, which sits just above the knuckle. And yeah, there's a kind of sort of martial arts developed around the katar, which involves a lot of thrust, but also a lot of agility and acrobatics. And apparently as far back as the 16th century, there was at least one fighting style which focused on fighting with a pair of katar with one in each hand. So that whole acrobatic thrusting manoeuvres, that is basically how the hunter fights. So that's quite a cool thing to put in, I think. It's a very surprisingly small detail that you wouldn't notice if you didn't know, and I didn't know until I found it out. But it's quite cool that they went so specific on it, and were relatively accurate. Because sometimes you don't quite tend to get accuracy when you play certain things. I mean, other games you get really intense accuracy in how they work. for example, I've seen a lot of stuff on like the war games where they've spent a lot of time focusing on how the gun works in reality and trying to make it feel similar. But yeah, kind of other weapons, I mean, because swords are used so much that kind of you tend to get a bit bored of them sometimes. I mean, they're always cool, but having such a niche weapon be so well used is just cool.
Didn't like that, did you? What?
This land is healed. We must go on.
Uh-huh. But why have you gone prickly on me?
You enjoyed that.
Teaching that thing a lesson? Taking some revenge for the people it killed?
Yeah,
Yes,
getting revenge can be enjoyable.
You enjoyed that side of things too.
I mean,
Don't worry, Princess.
see,
You're still
Raiden,
good-
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Wow. And with you as a measuring stick, that really makes me a saint.
Hey, I've helped old ladies home from the market.
I
If
don't
had attractive
quite
daughters.
think that the link there was intentional, but I quite like the fact that this is the Martyrs Tower, and she mentions calling, and she is a saint in comparison to the prince. That's quite well done, if that was intentional, but I think that may just be my overly English litty brain going at 10 to the dozen, making that sort of connection. Also, I mean, just look at this. It's just amazing. I think one of the main things that this game got praised for was its artistic and visual design. And I mean, it really is gorgeous. These vistas are just insane. It's even better because there are, I think, about 3 places throughout the entire world of the game which house achievements. So it's like the Assassin's Perch or something. They're essentially just a lot of pretty views, but they are really awesome when you do find them. So let me have a little double check with my factoid there. Okay, there appears to be only 2, so it's Assassin View and Titanic View. Now, I think that the Assassin View is actually in the Martyrs Tower here, and I believe that I am going to show it off when I do locate it. It's a pretty gorgeous view, and I think the Titanic View is in the Alchemist's domain. Yeah, that one's in the Alchemist's domain, and it's both of them are pretty amazing.
There you go.
And I believe that the Assassin's View is literally this perch right here. Now, something that I will go into in a little bit more detail in the extras is that there are alternate skins available for the Prince and Elika. Unfortunately, the majority of them are locked off behind pre-order codes. So I can literally only show you one of them. I don't even know why I have the... I don't quite know what Elika was doing there. That is one of the bugs that I found, and I was going to cut this little escapade out, but then I thought, no, that was just too funny to miss out on. I mean, she was just meditating up in the air. But it just looked so funny to me. But yeah, so there are alternate skins that you can get, and one of them is Altair from Assassin's Creed. So, using that outfit on that perch is just quite effective, really. I'll cover the other alternate skins in the extras, don't you worry, but I just thought that would be a fun time to bring that one up. Now, this is one of the reasons here why I don't like the Martyrs Tower as a level. Because you spend a lot of time going down into the middle, back up, and then you've got to go down back to the ground, and then all the way back up in the air. And there's just a ridiculous amount of down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, that it just gets a bit boring after a while. And then in addition to that, you've got to go through all the other areas to get all the light seeds. I mean, obviously it could be a hell of a lot worse. See the levels when we get to the concubine in the palace. But for where we are right now, it's a bit too much, I feel. And now, seeing as we are heading to another enemy to kill, and we've already killed them, the achievement associated with killing generic enemies before they spawn, you need to do 10 to do that. You also get an achievement for throwing 10 soldiers of Ahriman into pits, so you are going to want to fight some of them, purely so that you can throw them into pits. But that happens. Now, those light seeds that we just got there were really irritating to get. Like, you have no idea how frustrating it was, because the timing is really weird. It's sort of like you've got to do it right at the last second to be able to get enough distance. But I don't know. Because I thought I kept doing that when I was doing it, and it just didn't seem to happen. And it took me forever. Just be very glad that I cut out all the faff. Because otherwise this part would have been a lot longer than it currently is. And even as it stands, just over 25 minutes is rather long for one of these levels. I mean, also, there are others which are gonna be a bit longer, but yeah.
You were there.
Now, that is not the way that you're meant to get those light seeds. The way you're meant to get them is to get up to the top and then grip fall all the way down. But, me being the silly sot that I was, thought, oh, I know how I get these. I ram into the ground. No. Just don't do it. Do it the safe way. You don't want to rely on Elec too much, and to be perfectly honest, that is the main thing the main challenge in the game is make it so that you use Elika as little as possible in terms of rescuing your butt. But as I have said before, it's remarkably easy to screw up without meaning to. Partly because sometimes when you jump, you just don't jump quite at the right angle or at the right moment, and you end up being lower on a platform than you intended, well, lower on a wall than you intended to be. Or kind of you didn't swing at the right moment, which in turn leads to you, you know, falling off. And just falling straight to your doom. Now, this kind of right here was a moment of me being an idiot, because I completely forgot about the light seeds that were down on the platform that I decided to ram my face into. And the way that you get to them is to kind of drop down from where those stairs were outside. So I had to do a wonderful load of backtracking to get there. If there's one thing that does annoy me about the light seeds, other than the fact that obviously they do require you to just go over levels that you've literally just covered, unless you decide to come back to them later. But frequently there are the few which are just well hidden enough to require you to have to research the entire area all over again. I have had that happen more than a few times during this walkthrough when I was recording it. And let me tell you that sometimes that's just not fun. Because then you start to kind of doubt yourself. It's just like, well, I thought I covered this area, but I mustn't have done, because then I can't find any light seeds anywhere else. So where are they? And then eventually you will find them. Or, you know, if you're watching this walkthrough, then you will see where they all are, just not necessarily at the same time as the initial level is shown off, because obviously, particularly with the ruined citadel and the alchemist's place, I think it's the Vale, I'm not going to get all of the light seeds because we just don't have all the powers. Which means that some of them are completely inaccessible to us right now. They obviously become accessible to us later, but when we are covering them, we can't get them. I mean, some of the light seeds in this very level require the Breath of All Mars to get. And we won't be getting that until, next, I believe, actually. I think the Breath of All Mars is actually our next power, because it is required in the Vale. But obviously we've got to get to 340 light seeds first, which really isn't that much of a hassle, especially considering, you know, it's only double what we had to get for the second power. And each fertile ground has 45 light seeds in it. So if you do the maths, then you will see that it's really not that difficult to get enough to progress. And thankfully, this fertile ground is nearly over. I will only have to return to it once more. And then never again. I really do have a strong dislike for the Martyrs Tower. It just irritates me. It just feels a little bit too long for its own good. I mean, obviously there are other levels which frustrate me in a similar manner, but we will get to them when we get to them. We do have some more fun places before then, so you should certainly look forward to them, and as we gather up our remaining light seeds,
Thanks.
I will see you in the next part, when we head all the way to the other side of the ruined citadel and complete the next fertile ground, which also needs us to use the wings of all Mars, so hopefully that's going to be more fun than here.